You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
And we are back for the finals for this 5th ETS Weekly. This is it. Whoever wins gets in the Invitational, and whoever loses also gets in the Invitational, but gets second place. So congrats to both Hulkbuster and Ogre Man for making it this far. Notably, Ogre Man, this is their first ETS ever, getting all the way to the finals on the back of Praxis Midrange and going up against Hulkbuster, who we saw in the last round get all the way to the finals on this Macto Armory list. So what do you think of this matchup, Calimdir? What intrigues you or stands out here?
Well, it's kind of what on one half, it's kind of what we expected to see in Praxis, and it's really the exact same list that we saw in the finals last week. And on the other side, it's how we've seen Armory try to adapt to maybe fight this sort of known entity in Praxis. So it's going to be interesting to see how well Hulkbuster's plan. We saw how it worked out against a sort of a similar style list on Notorious GHP, but now the real Praxis mid-range, the real deal is here. That's going to put Hulkbuster under a bit more stress because I think it's a bit faster.
Yeah, now when you say exactly the same list as last week coming out of Ogre Man here, is that true? Is it 100% the same list that we saw Casey Nabrev have in the finals last week?
I think it's the exact 90 cards. I went over it a few times, and I think it's the exact 90 cards. But you know what? A good deck is a good deck.
Oh, yeah, and it takes a good pilot. So Ogre Man coming out with a statement here and showing that, hey, you know, if you're a good player and you think you have what it takes to be in the ETS, it doesn't cost you anything to be in it. Just sign up, get in there, and win. And that's what Ogre Man's doing. And if you're watching this right now and think you can do that next week, go ahead and prove it, man. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, we can plug this more at the end, but let's get this match going. So the classic Praxis, I guess we can call it at this point now, has been in back-to-back finals, will be going up against Hulkbuster's Macto Armory, and we'll see if these 4 Icarias and 4 Mactos can fly over the pressure of Praxis.
Yeah, absolutely. And this match does mean something. Both players do get invited to the Invitational, but they're playing for seeding and for I believe series points or invitational points. Not sure. I think series points they get from top 8s and winning, which go towards the midseason major and the world finals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still an important match.
Yeah, and it's also important because winning is way more awesome than losing, and neither of these players want to lose. So we are off to the races here. Ogre Man doesn't have quite the fastest start that these dedicated 2-faction Praxis list one, where you open on, you know, a Initiative of the Sands or something like that. So not developing quite as explosively, but still has a Dawnwalker, has some big stuff on the top, and is hoping that these threats will go the distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll be okay with just a Dawnwalker start. He wants something to play between now and Heart of the Vault, but if he can draw something at 4 or 5, I think he'll be in a pretty good spot to push damage in.
Crucially here, Hulkbuster, being on this triple faction deck, has a hand of basically all depleted sources, which means can't even cast this Privilege of Rank on turn 3 or Slay or really anything. So just going to have to take a beating from this Dawnwalker, but Ogre Man not with the most powerful follow-up here, just a 2-1 Amber Acolyte fishing.
Yeah, Hulkbuster having not the fastest start. He doesn't really want to use his torch on the Dawnwalker, like I believe you said, but he might just have to. That's the thing about Dawnwalker.
Mm-hmm.
It's so threatening. Like you're like, I can't remove this Dawnwalker, and even if your opponent doesn't even have anything like on the side of having a Dawnwalker, it's funny to see your opponents play around you, bringing back a recurring Dawnwalker when you just don't have it at all.
Yeah, and crucially here, Hulkbuster only has 1 Valkyrie Enforcer in the main deck to silence this. The other 3 are lurking in the side along with the Steward of the Past. There's also a Statuary Maiden, but just not a lot of answers to keep this Dawnwalker from coming back. And that's really what we saw the Praxis list do the most damage with last week as well. These Dawnwalkers just coming back, just giving these controlling decks a lot of problems.
Yeah, this Praxis list is definitely, I think, going to give Hulkbuster a bit more trouble than GHP's list just because of speed. And I think more than the Akaria Mokto flying plan, which is all right against. We've seen how good that is. The stature remains in the Valkyrie forces, I think, and maybe even Steward of the Past, I think, are the more impactful cards in the matchup. Yeah, this is going south really fast for Hulkbuster. He's got the
Yeah.
harsh roll, but still.
Hulkbuster torching the 2-1 in hopes of protecting the hammer, but of course, Heart of the Vault shows up to put an end to it anyways, and now Predatory Carnosaur's out with nothing to hit, but at least brings a Dawnwalker along with it. Dawnwalker kind of has revenge, except instead of drawing it with Destiny every once in a while, just shows up every time you present another headache for your opponent.
Yeah, exactly. Although Slay is not too bad, and getting Rise for something to deal with maybe this Dawnwalker when it comes back or whatever, bring back Dawnwalker is okay. But Ogreman just needs one more threat to get in one more hit, really, and he's got this Obliterate in hand. Like Hulkbuster is lower than he knows.
Well, he's about to know he's a bit lower as the Obliterate
Yeah.
will take out this Auric Runehammer and let the 4-1 live, or the 1-1 Temple Scribe live. And now Hulkbuster's got to decide, does he dig with Quarry first or just Rise first? The old Quarry for Quarry, and then I think we're going to see Hulkbuster Rise for Nakari and go with the beat you down before you find anything.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the play. Now that he's stabilized a bit and Ogreman doesn't really, his run out of threats.
About that.
Yes. Yeah, about that. The old Praxis, the poster boy of the Praxis deck is here to save the day.
Yeah, every time this happens, I'm like, why is this deck only running 3 Heart of the Vaults?
I don't know.
But yeah, Heart of the Vault shows up off a warp. The Obliterate's already in hand. And Hulkbuster, gets to hit for 7 here and hold up a torch.
But it's just not going to be
to
good
maybe
enough.
live.
I mean, yeah, he can torch the Dawnwalker and go to 7, and he'll be at 1.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Ogreman also could have done something like displace and then obliterate the Akaria and preserve the 6/6, but instead is hiding the obliterate as a surprise.
Yeah, I think that's a fair play. And that's a big maiden. That is really good here. But he's going to unfortunately put himself right into obliterate range.
Yeah.
And he would have died anyway to the extra 1 damage from the Temple Scribe. So I think it's a fair play.
Yep. Using the flail, but doesn't have the health and the burn from Praxis, finishing the job before Hulkbuster can turn this one around. So Praxis doing what it does, and that's cast Heart of the Vault.
Would he have lived had he Charge Chain flailed the Temple Scribe?
Probably for a little bit.
Yeah, I think he would have stayed at 7. Yeah, for a little bit. I'm sure the Displacer would have found a way to get that Dawnwalker in, and it would have been over. But
yeah, with the Displacer in hand, it wasn't like this. The ways. Here we go to game 2. No sideboarding yet. Ogreman has that mythical turn 1 Initiative of the Sands on the play, but do you want your follow-up to be double Seek Power with no real threats?
Probably not.
Well, it looks like he disagrees. I can see where you're coming from here, though. It's full of power, but opting to open on Seek Power instead of Initiative of the Sands is.
So I actually like both opening on Seek Power and this hand overall. Like you said, you don't really want to initiate into a bunch of Seek Powers. It's not really powerful. But I like that he's going to be able to play Friendly Wisp and then right afterwards play Shatterglass Mage, right? That's what he's ramping into, is the Shatterglass Mage the turn after. And so playing the depleted power then, going for the Seek Power then, lines him up for that play.
Sure. I just don't know why you couldn't just initiate into Seek, but yeah. I mean, it gives you some options on turn 2. And here we go. Opts to get the second fire source so you could cast the Obliterate that's in hand. But sometimes it's what you don't know that hurts you, and that Dawnwalker showing up right afterwards is not going to make Ogreman too happy to see. Although eventually he'll be happy.
So we have so we're going to have the Shatterglass Mage not able to come out and the Friendly Wisp be silenced, which is going to put a wrench in Ogreman's plans for sure. Also, not having a great target for not able to cast Dawnwalker, like you said, and not having a great target for the Xena initiation. It's just really awkward.
Yeah.
After he plays the Shatterglass Mage, it's a little better, but
Yeah, Hulkbuster doesn't have much to do here, waiting to get to 5 power and nothing worth using Slay on unless he wants to knock down Ogreman's power. But Ogreman's stuck on influence, not power here, and opts to rise for a Maiden because it's something he can cast, and he certainly doesn't need more flying threats than what's already.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, the one of Maiden is a little bit better than maybe I thought initially, just because of all the rises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very nice thing to have here, but it also gets obliterated because Ogreman doesn't want Hulkbuster to have a Maiden in play. And Hulkbuster finds another power that's undepleted, gets down the Machdo, and yeah, the flying pressure is on here.
Yeah, I was gonna say before Hulkbuster drew that that 5th power there, both decks were kind of running kind of low rev there,
Mm-hmm.
not doing great. Bit
Whoa.
slower than oh yeah, getting the extra fire for the flame blast. Okay, I think that's reasonable.
It's kind of reasonable. I kind of like getting the double time there so that you can get the Dawnwalker down that turn and maybe set up like Zenith Initiation stuff with it.
Yeah.
But opts to make Flame Blast live so you can guaranteed deal with this 6/6, but instead is going to hit the 5/5 and try and get counter pressure going.
Yeah, I think overall just he had too many 1/1s this game and wasn't able to like play out his cards in time. Shatterglass Mage has been stuck in his hand, so
it's just a little odd to me that he opts to kill the 5/5 instead of the 6/6 there when you know like Dawnwalker plus like Initiation can deal with the 6/6 clean, but ultimately not finding the influence this game, having the power but not the influence, and yeah, Hulkbuster getting out the right threats to close this one.
yeah, there were some definitely different lines that Ogreman could have made. He was just hoping to somehow get aggressive in there. That's like his only out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he was definitely losing that game. He needed some kind of miracle draw, and that's what he was going for.
Right. So now the players will move to sideboard. We are tied up 1-1 here, going into sideboards, and yeah, let's see here with Ogreman. We've seen this list before last week. What do you think's going to happen here as far as changing up threats? Do you take out like the explosive initiative of the Sands package and just up your actual good threat density, or do you try and stick to that speed?
Let's see. Are there any units that I really want to bring in? Well, I don't mind Zenith Obelisk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind Shatterglass Mage, and I guess Groundbreaker is like an okay unit, but it's not really. I don't want to bring it in over other threats. So what are you cutting is the big question, right? So your Initiative Sands is definitely an option. I think Praxis Displacer might be my first bet though.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I like cutting the Praxis Displacers. There's spots where it's cute, but ultimately you're going to be staring at a lot of empty boards and you just want to play a better threat. I actually do like Groundbreaker, if you can cast it, is the qualifier there. And again, Shatterglass Mage, just as a unit with Warp, is nice to have around. Looks like they're thinking about trimming some of these friendly wisps down and instead just, you don't need their utility early and instead just want better threats, density instead. I do advocate for sticking on the Initiative Sands plan.
Yeah, I think Initiative Sands is just too powerful in the early stages of the game. For cutting Friendly Wisp, I don't mind because Temple Scribe, you get the value when you play it. Friendly Wisp, you got to set up, and there's a lot of cards that, outside of killing a Friendly Wisp, don't really do anything in Hulkbuster's deck.
Yeah. So on Hulkbuster's end, what do you see getting changed here? Obviously, there's those 4 Vanquish lurking in the side that are tempting to bring in here, which is one of the reasons why I like Groundbreaker. Dodges that conveniently. And we also see like a Steward of the Past to help deal with these Dawnwalkers.
Yeah, you want I think you want, there are 8 cards in here that are meant exactly for this matchup and are definitely coming in, which is the Valkyrie Enforcers, the Stewards, and the Vanquishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we even saw that one of Valkyrie Enforcer showing up last game, getting in for a bit of damage and doing some work. And yeah, I think priority number 1 is silencing these Dawnwalkers, and then hopefully you can race the reach of.
Yeah, hopefully that's the plan. So, interestingly enough, there's another weekly tournament that goes on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And in that tournament, we had Kamado, another well placing ladder player, play a similar the same 3 factions, Fire, Justice, Shadow list, kind of like how Hulkbuster's doing, and he was going on the full 4 Mocto plan and lower on the weapon side and like no stashes or something. But he had a bunch of maidens and stewards, and he was really targeting. He took the praxis to like another level. So I think it's interesting to see like some of the similarities and some of the cues taken from that list in Hulkbuster's list with the extra stewards and maidens and being able to rise for them and stuff.
Interestingly enough, I saw a little glimpse of Hulkbuster's sideboarding decisions. Cut an Icaria, went down to 3 Icarias instead of 4, and brought in 2 smuggler stashes. Do you think the stashes might be a little too slow for this matchup?
That's a good question. I kind of like Icaria. I know it's a 7-drop and all, and stash you can play on 5. But you don't really want to spend turn 5 drawing cards. And Icaria at least, blocks something when you play it.
Yep. And Icaria is showing up here, but Hulkbuster is real far away from casting those, as it's only got 2 power in hand, and that's already staring down some pressure from this Dawnwalker. Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is a really awkward hand on the side of Hulkbuster.
Yep. And on the other end, Ogremann's just curving out and having a good time, finding a second Dawnwalker here to really put Hulkbuster on the back foot, and Hulkbuster whiffs again, just stuck on 2 power, and oh boy, this is not good.
Yeah, no, this is not what you want when you're playing control and you're trying to stop this aggressive onslaught. Sure, Ogremman doesn't have the most aggressive start in the world, but he's gonna get the value train rolling next turn with the heart of the vault, and
And
he's got Obliterate and just another Sandstorm Titan, and it's just not gonna stop. And
Hulkbuster thought about conceding there on missing power.
Yeah,
Thought against it, but I think once he sees this 6/6 Heart of the Vault come down, might just go up to that gear and move on to the next game. We'll find out if that's enough. There we go.
Yep, and that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens. It's a card game.
Yep. It's unfortunate to see that, but it's a 1 in 100 or whatever chance. Somebody in chat will be like, "Nah, you're wrong. It's higher than that." But you'll see it once in a while. But that's why we play best of 5, so that if some bad variance happens to you, maybe it'll happen to your opponent, or maybe none will happen, and then we actually have some real fun there. So we'll see if they have any second thoughts about their sideboarding changes here before getting into the next game.
I don't know what you're talking about. I get flooded and screwed every game. This game is nothing but variance.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Definitely. That's why we have random people getting to the top of the tournaments every week, right?
Yeah, you've never seen the same player win twice.
Looks like some last-minute changes here by Hulkbuster, opting to trim down on the Auric Runehammer and up the torch count. I didn't check to see if he ended up cutting down on Smuggler's Stash because he was also cutting down on weapons, but I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah, I hope that's the case as well. That would make a lot of sense to me. I think Torch is kind of a tricky card in this matchup because you don't want it. It hits very few things, but you can't cut down an early interaction.
Another 2 power hand on the play from Hulkbuster, and doesn't even have the influence to cast this quarry yet. So Hulkbuster just crossing their fingers and praying for some fire influence here. Smuggler's Stash not quite the answer to those prayers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have Ogremman just barely getting enough power to cast his cards, and he's going to be able to curve out right on time. Also, Healer's Cloak, really interesting. I wonder if he brought that in just as a buff because he had nothing else he wanted to bring in.
Yeah, that is an intriguing card to bring in here over, say, an actual threat. Like, I would want to max out on things like Groundbreakers before I think about bringing in a Healer's Cloak. But in the meantime, Hulkbuster, this is... I guess I was wrong about that 1 in 100 thing. Apparently, it's 100% chance to always get stuck on 2 power. As Hulkbuster, this is the same old story, although now the Dawnwalker is actually making.
Yeah, I think the Healer's Cloak is maybe in there just to put things out of Runehammer range, which could be relevant. Not going to be relevant in this game because unless Hulkbuster just draws Fire Sigil off the top.
It might come down here, but it doesn't look it. Because while Hulkbuster is stuck on power, it's only on a 6-turn clock still. That's plenty of time. This 3/3 flyer actually stops the whole board that Ogreman has presented. So while Hulkbuster had a frustrating start, Ogreman hasn't found the gas to finish this. Like, a Healer's Cloak's not a threat. Zenith Initiations aren't doing anything.
Yeah, Zenith Initiations are almost dead cards. And then a Scorpion Wasp is not where he wants to be at all.
Yeah. This is an odd sideboard plan out of Ogreman here, I've got to say, where it seems like a few too many reactionary cards came in rather than more aggressive threats. And could have Healer's Cloak plus Initiation there to keep the damage going, and opting to just sit here and let Hulkbuster draw out of this bad start.
What do you think the odds are that he had a couple sideboarded decks loaded up and he just picked the wrong one?
I'm not sure, because maybe they ran into Rhino at some point earlier and needed all these cards. It's a possibility, or they just know something about this matchup that we're not seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what cards they cut and whatever. Maybe he just didn't have much else. I mean, Wasp is very good against Aira, right? That's definitely not.
Can't say I'm the biggest fan of using Slay on that 1/1. You're at 14 health. You don't need to kill the 1/1.
You are stuck on 3 power, though.
Yeah, you're stuck on 3 power, but again, it's 1 damage. Now you're, this Dawnwalker and a Sandstorm Titan showing up here. You've only got 1 Vanquish. Yep. So now the clock is much more serious. Seek power, fire source. It's there. It's happening.
Yeah, he can't afford to Corey this turn, which he would love to do, but he's just got to get rid of that Sandstorm Titan.
Also, not the biggest fan of using the Healer's Cloak in that manner. You didn't get any extra damage out of it. You just played it to make your Sandstorm Titan slightly bigger, but why? Quite understand that line of play either from Ogreman, but here we go, and Hulkbuster's finding more power, but chooses to go with the Justice Sigil, and by discarding that Privilege of Rank, gets 2 more. You don't have to cast it for 3 when you can cast it for free.
Got it. That was a play. That puts Hulkbuster right back in it, because he's going to be playing power for at least 2 more turns. Sure, he can't cast Aira, but he's got this Rise and this Harsh Rule to keep him in the game. And yeah, Ogreman definitely would have liked to have played the Healer's Cloak when he could attack with the unit he put it on. But instead, now he's just stuck with a Zenith Initiation, a Wasp, and a Torch, which just don't do anything proactively. Sure, Hulkbuster's at a virtual 6 if he can draw an Obliterate, but that's really his only out, like a Flame Blast or an Obliterate.
Looks like Hulkbuster's trying to find an answer to this Dawnwalker with Killer, thinking about maybe getting Steward, maybe getting Maiden, but ultimately just goes for the Valkyrie Enforcer here instead, just going to wait to see whenever that Dawnwalker shows back up. Hulkbuster does not have that 3rd fire source yet, so can't cast these Akarias, and now might change their mind about finding something else to play here. Yep, Steward trots out the Valkyrie Enforcer here, and that's got to get eaten by something.
Oh, and that's lethal.
That's lethal! Obliterate Torch face!
So I thought he was going to maybe get a Throne Warden when you mentioned getting Steward just to play around this.
Yeah.
But nope, he ended up getting the Valkyrie Enforcer, and that cost him the game. I mean, sure, you can't know that Ogreman has Torch and Obliterate, but that's it. That's 3 to 1, right?
3 to 1. Ogreman takes it with Praxis midrange. That burn just getting the job done there. Hulkbuster almost getting out of those power issues, especially thanks to Hulkbuster almost getting out of those power issues, but not quite in time to force the 5th game. And Ogreman takes it down, running it back. Praxis midrange for the 2nd week in a row.
Yeah, we saw the exact same list just get first place 2 weeks in a row. But hold your horses, everybody. The entire rest of the top 8 completely different. We just saw a whole slew of new decks. So the meta is still shifting. There's still a lot to be figured out here.
Yeah, but there you have it. I mean, Ogreman, I'm going to repeat this. First time playing in the ETS, brings a list that's been tried and true and makes it work to their advantage. Maybe a little bit of some oddball sideboarding choices there, but hey, a win's a win. Everybody's always learning while they play. And I expect Ogreman to keep up these, to repeat this performance going forward. We'll be seeing them in the Invitational along with Hulkbuster. So congrats to both players for making it to the finals, earning a spot in the Invitational, which is coming up in just a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fun tournament to cast. This is a really good weekly. A lot of cool new stuff. A lot of cards that some people hate. A lot of cards that some people love.
Yep, there's always a lot to love, a lot to hate. That's the beauty of card games, right? The passion comes through with everyone. And we also had a lot of fun. I think those games were excellent. And a big reason we had so much fun is our lovely tournament organizer, rekenner, who's in the booth with us now.
Thank you, Rhino. Yes, hello, everyone. This is rekenner, your tournament organizer here. First, I'd like to congratulate both Ogreman and Hulkbuster on making it to the finals and guaranteeing their place in the Season 5 Invitational coming up in, as has been mentioned, in only a few weeks on August 26th and 27th. And a special congratulations to Ogreman with a incredibly strong first showing, taking the win. He went 4-2 in the Swiss, but he had the best breakers and then smashed his way through to taking the win. Next, I'd like to thank all the players and all the viewers. If it wasn't for all of you, we couldn't be doing this. And really putting this tournament on and the stream on every week is fantastic. I really enjoy doing it. I'd also like to thank Miller Tool, our producer. Without him, we could literally not be streaming this. And I'd also like to thank our graphics and code contributors who make our jobs much easier. Specifically Mengar for the tiebreaker script and the deck image creation tool, and X Kirby, who has provided a number of our background graphics and has started to create a highlight reel for us every week. And a huge thanks to our $20 Patreon backers. They make it possible for us to have prize pools at our events. The Invitational coming up in a few weeks, we'll have a $250 prize pool, and we're looking at a minimum $1,000 prize pool for Worlds. And again, this is entirely because of our generous Patreon backers and Twitch subscribers and so on and so on and so forth. Our $20 Patreon backers are Chuck Hurst, Easy, Chris Kearns, Andrea Pokai, and Seek Power Gaming. And a special shout out to Scredred and X Kirby for subscribing on Twitch during this stream. And finally, thanks to our casters, Sirhino and Calimdir. Calimdir, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Do I have to? So my name is Gabe, also known as Calimdir in the game. You can find me on the ladder. You can find me in other people's streams frequently. And I'm a member of Team SPG. I'm not the greatest member on the team, but we have a lot of cool guys, and you can catch us in our Discord and on our streams. And I also have a Twitter that I don't use that is exactly spelled the way it is here.
Thank you, Calimdir. And Rhino, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Sirhino. I like to play Eternal. I like to talk about Eternal, which means I like to stream Eternal. I stream Eternal basically every day of the week, afternoons Eastern time, so usually like about 1 to 7. We make lots of dumb decks that somehow work, and a lot of dumb decks that somehow don't work. I also like to draft a lot, usually hanging around top 10 Masters in draft until I do dumb things like force Bad Strangers decks and have lots of fun with that. I also do a weekly podcast with Neon, who writes lots of articles on aReNGee Eternal. And we just like to ramble and be crotchety old men and say, back in my day, we had cooler things to do in Eternal. There's still a lot of cool things to do now, and we like to highlight those as well. So that's what I do. Make lots of content and have lots of fun.
Thank you, Rhino. And once again, we are the Eternal Tournament Series. If any of you out there want to join, the best way to find information about this is on the Eternal Discord, which can be found via the !Discord command in chat and on the Eternal subreddit sidebar. The tournament information and tournament chat rooms have all the information you need, and feel free to send me a message on Discord if you have any questions. There will be 2 more opens for this season, and then the last chance qualifier on the 20th. And there will be more information about those coming up soon. And that does it for this week's show. We do this every week at noon Eastern, so click that follow button below. Because not only do we stream ETS every Saturday, we also stream something on this channel every single day, except for Friday. We got Lights Out Ace, Miller Tool, and even the founder, aReNGee himself. Although, a quick note, Lights Out Ace won't be streaming tomorrow, which makes me sad. Should make all of you sad. He's great. But starting Monday, we'll be back to our normal rotation, and Ace will be streaming on Wednesday. But yeah, once again, thank you all so very much. And I believe we'll be giving a host to Notorious GHP after the event, so stick around and watch him. He had a top 4 finish, and he's a cool guy. So have a good night, everyone.